for halfway through the day. Let's go ahead and hear what you guys have to say.
All right, thanks Necra and Keen. Time to get into our fourth game of the day. On board with Ramblin here, who has been having a pretty successful day so far, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been killing it today. And I think going into this game, one of the things to keep in mind is at the halfway mark, you can kind of double the point totals and kind of guess, am I safe? Am I not safe? And players like Rambling and Sox are going to feel very comfortable. They're already double the cutoff point. And so definitely going for safer starts. You see the Rod here. I would love to see him just slam a Locket. That personally be what I would do if I had a big lead going into the second half, as I would just slam things like Locket, Zeke's Herald, Chalice, anything that lets you win streak early to preserve health to kind of avoid the 7th, the 8th, the 6th. And I think he's able to do that. He's already looking forward to next week.
Yeah, you just want to play safe. And speaking of safe, he hits the keeper release right there. That's one of the keepers you can use to sort of get that strong keeper board going. Looks like he's going to favor the Dragon Soul angle instead, which is also a really strong early game. Might get some gold off of these neutral minions, so we'll see. He still might have the chance to pick those up. But yesterday, the point cutoff was exactly 27. We even had a tiebreaker at 27 that allowed Ramblin to get into the top 24. So that's kind of the point target that a lot of these players are going to be sort of angling for. Another Rod, interesting. All right, I mean, I guess you've got a Jeweled Gauntlet is probably the most appealing thing there, especially when you hit that brand too. Interesting. Is it time to reroll?
So it's one of these things where I think Jeweled Gauntlet's the better item, but I would probably slam the Death Cap if I'm trying to win streak because I would rather have the Hanging Glove. But then again, you can also just go for Locket. There's a lot of options here. So whenever I'm slamming items, I always just like I almost always look at what I have hanging instead of what I'm making, if they're comparable to me, unless one item's clearly better, you know. I am a little surprised he skipped the keeper release. I know you've been talking about keepers a lot. Would you have copped that release?
I probably would have. Again, that's just my own personal preference to play that way right now. That said, he would have a keeper release and a cannon right now, you know, and he would have a Jarvan and Archon. He'd have 4 keeper right now, but there was no way that he could have predicted that. So you can't fault him for that at all. But me as the constant keeper player lately, like I'm gonna grab it every time, and he's gonna put that in for the moment. It looks like.
I think we can predict. I think we can critique him because you definitely would have made the correct play and picked the keeper release, and you'd be sitting here with a bunch of them already.
I don't even think that was the correct play. Like I can't even say that is the correct play because who knows what other people's boards would have looked like and all that kind of stuff. I think player preference comes down to it a lot, but
yeah, definitely one of those situations now where it's like, dang, maybe I should have. You have a little regret, but you got just move on. He's got a very strong board still, though. It's a high value, no upgrades, but they're all very strong early game units, especially with the keepers.
I mean, the thing is, too, is if he finds a belt to go with that other Rod, then you get the Jeweled Gauntlet Morellos on Kennen. That's a really strong item combination. So there's definitely a keeper angle you can do, but there's also a lot of other things you can think of. Jeweled Gauntlet is so useful on so many different champions right now that right now, more than anything, Ramblin is just, without a chosen, especially wide open. Ooh, I feel like it's bait. Yeah, it is definitely
you're playing for top 4. You don't have an Annie. You don't have any other Fortune. Man, he's doing it.
Spicy. I like it.
Maybe he's in a spot as well where he says, well, I'm going to qualify it basically no matter what happens. So let's have some fun. Let's take this Fortune.
I mean, I'd be worried. I mean, he's had great results, but you still don't want to throw this early. Maybe you get to like game 5 and 6 and you can start to be a little bit more reckless. But right now, I'd still be playing pretty hard. I think he's just thinking of this as a strong, just early tank, right? Tom Kent is going to sit there forever, going to give your team plenty of time, especially when you're relying on something like a Nico that can do a good amount of damage, but needs a lot of time to get that cast going, like you can see.
Yep, it's definitely a good front line. So, excited to see if he's able to hit another Fortune. I feel like Fortune Tom Kench is always unlucky for me. You hit the Fortune Kench, you don't see another Fortune.
Hey, I stay away from Fortune, man. I'm right there with you. I'm afraid of it. I'm terrified. I have a Fortune phobia.
Gambling's a vice. You are doing the good thing. The rest of us we have problems.
I try it every once in a while. I'm like, no, give me the Space Pirates. That's more reliable, in my opinion. I can go out and seize that gold. I don't have to rely on losing. I just want to win.
I agree with you on a philosophical level where I'm like, man, I should definitely avoid this. But then I'll watch like Becca's stream or like Mort Dog's stream, and they will play a lot of Fortune on their stream, and it'll bait me into. I'll be like, oh man, I really want to get that cash out.
Me too. Me too. Every once in a while, I do it.
That's how they get you.
I regret it. It's true. Well, it's the pre-level for Ramblin', so going to be looking for that slightly stronger hit off of the carousel. After the carousel, I should say. Going up against a pretty strong board from Villet right now, in that he's got that Callista. He should be able to do a good amount of damage, but that said, it's going to take forever to kill that Tom Kench, and it might be a little bit too late there. Tom Kench does go down, but it is too late. It's a win for Ram.
Gets the Kench at least. Save a little bit of health going to the carousel here. He's got a hanging rod. I'm curious what he ends up taking. Where is? Oh, he's last pick with it. Last pick at 96 health always feels kind of bad to me.
I mean, you know, it is what it is, right? You're like, all right, I'm gonna probably get a defensive item. I can kind of play around that, and there's a lot of good defensive items in the game right now, so I don't feel as bad about that later pick on the carousel than I used to. Jumping on board with Valet now. See what the plan is there. His life bar is picking up or covering over what he picked up. I didn't quite see it. Did you see it?
I didn't quite see it either. He's doing a good job of messing with us.
A little bit. Sometimes if you want to be really mean, you can like run your little legend over the items that are remaining and try to block people from seeing what they are.
Nice little surprise. So he'll probably slam the Runons here.
Yeah, Runes looks pretty good. The Trap Claw.
This is Last Whisper. Yeah, it's gotta be Runons. I can't remember where he was on the point standing. If he's one of the higher ones, there's a world in which you just slam. Wow, he slammed Trap Claw. I was wondering if he would slam the Thieves Glove on the Chosen Garrett there. But
I mean, the Thieves Gloves are something where this early in the game you probably want to just save it and see if you can build something out of it, especially when something different, rather, especially when you're running into Krugs in a few rounds, rather. But it'll be strong in the meantime. Valet is currently 7th overall in the standings, one of the many players with 16 points, so having a pretty good day so far.
Yeah, so he still definitely wants a solid finish, but maybe I've been watching a little too much Sox, watching him, because Sox would have slammed Thieves Globes, guaranteed. But
maybe. There are some players who would have done it, for sure. Takes a big chunk out of kiting us hard there in the last round.
The Trap Claw slam is just interesting to
Trap
me.
Claw.
Yeah, I mean, he slammed it last round, and it's in that situation, if you're not willing to slam Thieves Gloves, it makes me wonder why you're willing to slam a Trap Claw, right? So I guess the idea is he wants to leave the glove hanging, which means there's an item he wants. From this angle with the Runons, he's probably thinking of an Olaf type carry. Maybe he wants a Hodge, so he's gonna be like, the glove is always good to have hanging, as opposed to, I guess, leaving the hanging belt would have been worse. So perhaps that was what he was aiming for here.
There's another factor too, where you've got multiple Tristanas, you've got a few things in the lobby that you kind of like to hit that hit that Trap Claw, so they can get stunned a little bit. That might be part of it too. Could be a little bit of a lobby adaptation. That said, that Tristan is pretty unstoppable as usual.
Trap Claw also just got buffed recently, where it'll prevent Acel from casting the second time now. I believe that was just included in the most recent patch. So, and that was specifically the example that was highlighted.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so maybe it'll come back later. Keep an eye on that Trap Claw that we're a little confused about being slammed this early, but by the end of the game, Trap Claw starts being one of the better items in the game, and maybe he's investing in his late game.
Could be. It's not a bad item. Let's see what Krugs bring for Valet here, as he does a little bit more scouting around the rest of the lobby. Kiting, going for those assassins. And that's going to be a sell then from Valet. He's like, all right, well, no reason to keep the Akali. If I were to go that, I would be contested. Looks like he's setting up for perhaps a bit of a cultist mid-game, at least getting 3 cultists in there. Such a strong early synergy.
Yeah, I mean, it gives CC, it's like everything you want out of the early game. It's extra body that comes in. Probably just a Hodge slam, or does he slam the IE?
I mean, Hand of Justice is the overall more useful item, but Infinity Edge can be very useful in specific situations.
Yeah,
along with
IE's kind of weird.
Yeah,
IE's a little weird sometimes without the Last Whisper to pair with it. So, I mean, I would personally slam the Hodge here and leave the sword for like a GA, which is a very strong item in the meta at the moment.
Sure.
So we'll see.
I'd kind of lean that direction as well, yeah.
see what he ends up doing here. He decides to keep. I mean, this is a strong board, right? There's front line, there's good backline DPS. It's everything you want from the basics of TFT.
That is true. All right, going up against Ramkev, and wow, that Tristana gets a Death Blade off the Thieves' Gloves. That's got to feel pretty good. That's a Teemo too on the other side as well. So kind of a scary board, and Callista can definitely take out anybody if she can hit him with enough spears. But getting to that point takes a while, and that Callista goes down fast with the sharpshooters. So it feels like we're at a point in time where Valet needs to start to think about making some sort of transition, and it does look like he's kind of thinking in the cultist direction, but probably there needs to be a change to make this board competitive throughout the rest of the stage.
Yeah, so he's looking at selling. This is something a lot of people are doing right now, is selling the 1-cost Chosen and just rolling down at 3-2. Regardless, I was watching GB8 earlier, and he was doing it even if he was at 90 health. It's just, you want to sell at this stage to kind of get stronger. There's something Bert kind of popularized in the tournament last weekend, where because there's so many good 3-cost units right now, you can make a safe roll here to stabilize your board. And because it's very difficult to push 8 quickly in the current meta, so you'll see a lot of people making plays. Looks like Otterbear may have made a few rolls here as well, but people are looking to stabilize boards right on 3-2 at the moment.
Yep, that's right. So pretty good items for the Tristana on the Otterbear. I mean, any item is basically a good item on the Tristana. That said, we've got 4 duelists in there now, and the 2 Callistas basically sort of act as like 1 super Runins, more or less. So you just get so many more spears. So this is the exact kind of change you want to make, right? Where 4 duelists is a very stable way to move through stage 3, it seems like right now. So we'll check back in with him later. Meanwhile, it's a cash out. Ooh,
there's cash out.
Nico and Cloak for kiting is hard.
Nico's big. Right. I mean, every time I play Fortune, Nico's help is the thing I want more than anything else. Like, I don't even care about getting forced. I always just want the Nico's help because it'll help me get to my carry. Because nothing tilts me personally more than being stuck on like a 1 Olaf or a 1 Kale. So getting the early Nico's help, sometimes you get lucky. You hit a couple 5-cost units early, and you start popping it. So he's got 6 warlords. Indeed. It's very strong mid game.
Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of full-on 6 Warlord boards anymore. If we do, it is usually during this stage, right, where it's going to be a little bit stronger because of just the extra stats, right, that the trait gives you. That Katarina is going to be pretty scary, but going to be more scary once she gets a Hextech Gunblade on her, which is not going to be for a little while yet, at least, unless maybe Kiting can get a Rod off the carousel. And hey, he's first pick, so he's got a pretty good shot.
Rod's also not that popular. It's a 1-cost Rod, though, which feels really bad, but he does really need it.
Yeah.
So one of those situations where it sucks. There's a Sword Olaf on the board as well. There's some really good stuff on this carousel. But he's got perfect item cat now, so I mean, you move on. You already got some gold because of Fortune, so you're not hurting too much for forcing that. So he's in a good spot with his econ. He's got perfect items on cat. He's got 6 warlords. His chosen warlord is a 2-cost unit, which he could run the whole game. He's got a loose belt in case he finds a spatula for the warlord item. So I feel like he's in a good spot for this for sure.
Yeah, the thing that kind of concerns me at this point is that Kiting is hard is one of the lower points players in the tournament right now, down at 4 points. And when you think about this Warlords comp, I guess if you get the Katarina 3, you can win lobbies, but Kiting really needs to play things that can win. So he's going to be probably hoping he can reroll for that Katarina 3 if he sticks with it. And if he can't, it might not be the greatest finish just because of the overall strength of this comp. So curious to see where this one's going to lead, but rolling the dice a little bit here. But I suppose that's kind of what you need to do in that position.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to win with Warlord. One is Katarina 3, as you suggested, and that is the more conventional way you'll see with Warlords. But if you have a chance to high roll and win streak through all of stage 4, and you're able to get to 8, maybe even 9 with decent health, then if you're able to get that Warlord spat, that's the second potential win condition. If you can put a good Warlord spat on like a Samira or a Set, there are definitely other carries. But his health's kind of low. When your health is this low, you're pretty much committed to rolling for the 3-star Katarina, because it's going to be very difficult for you to hit 8 and 9 and get those 2-star legendaries in to kind of supplement this comp.
So rolling for a 3-star 3-cost at level 7 is not a situation anybody wants to be in. So it's a little bit rough there. You kind of wonder what's going to happen here, because the Tryndamere items aren't looking the greatest. I mean, you could build a Runins, I suppose, but It's not the strongest thing ever. I'd be pretty concerned if I was kiting right now, but you are a little bit committed. At least he has the Nico's help to try to get that Tryndamere 2 a little bit quicker. There's that.
It's do or die right now. I don't even think you go for the Tryndamere 2. I think at this point you save that Nico's help, and because the Tryndamere 2 with no items isn't going to be a huge upgrade, especially without Duelist in, I'm pretty sure what he should do is go for the Cat 3 and save the Nico's for that. And because there's no pivoting, right? Like you have the item slam for Katarina. It's Warlords. Like Warlord just does not pivot super well into anything else unless you sell the full board. So. And he just doesn't have the help.
This is not good. This is not good for kiting as hard. Needs to make something happen. Here, excuse me. Picks up the pike.
If this board isn't winning, you have to ask yourself, well, like what can possibly happen to help you start winning? Because this looks like a pretty strong board when you're thinking about what do I need to hit for Warlords. And he's already got the Cat 2. He's got Chosen Warlord. He's got 6 of them in. He's got the Pike 2 in. At this point, it's kind of, you're starting to definitely feel bad because you're thinking, oh man, I can't, like, how do I actually even get stronger from this spot?
Right. Well, we'll see if the items are no items there. Just a couple. Okay, we have a sword. All right, so Hand of Justice.
We got some Tryndamere items now.
Yeah, that's right. Hand of Justice does have the possible Last Whisper there as well. A couple different ways you can build around this, and it's just. Yeah, you want that Katarina 3, but I just don't see how you're going to get there. So in that sense, you might have to hope, for that Tryndamere now. That miracle Tryndamere 2 from just finding another one and then using that Nico's, because, I don't know, it's going to be tough to find that Cat 3, but we'll see. Either way, like, you're on a lost streak. Okay, there's another Jarvan. Jarvan 3 is a pretty good unit if you can find it.
I'm a little surprised by that item slam there, because those end up being a little more supportive items. The QSS, I think, is good, but I feel like he could have saved the glove. Because with the glove, you could have made IE, you could have made Hodge, you could have made Last Whisper, and I wonder if those would have been slightly more effective on Tryndamere, but...
Oh, I suppose the chain of thought can be, well, I don't have the Katarina 3 yet, so I can't rely on that damage. I need other things to do damage besides my Katarina, and so by putting the QSS on Tryndamere, at least... I'm not going to be CC'd, and I can get in there and, maybe get an ult and maybe get those auto attacks afterwards. So, grasping at straws perhaps a little bit there, but I think it might help him out. We will see, definitely, though, because we're moving on to see what Ramkev is up to now. Wow, there's a 6 Fortune player. Who is that? Didn't see who that was.
I saw the Fortune earlier from Belay, I believe, so I wonder if that was his board. Because he picked up the Chosen Tom Kench. True. Or was it Rambling? Whoever we started with. I think it was Rambling we started with, actually. Yeah, so it's definitely Rambling.
Now. Yep. Dragon Soul is the plan for Ramkev at the moment. He has that Thieves Gloves on the Tristana, so obviously not that Tristana reroll or anything like that. Items look a little bit awkward across the board, actually, for Ramkev, but this is going to be one of the worst losses he's taken in recent memory. His HP is still pretty good coming into here.
Yeah, you'll see the econ for both of those players in that stage. They were both right around 30 to 40 gold for... at level 7, which is the meta has just increased in speed just a little bit, so people trying to go fast 8 by 4-5 not really happening that much in this lobby anymore. And if you do go 8 at 4-5, usually you go 8 and you'll have like 10 or 20 gold left, and you just sit there without rolling, and you're just putting in like a synergy bot until you can actually roll at 5-1. So it seems like in this tournament, as well as on ladder, the idea is to stabilize by 3-2 and then 4-1, and you're hoping to keep around 30 gold both times so that you can actually roll. And the end game here is to get the full roll down at 5-1, and you just want to preserve as much health as possible until then.
Yep, that's kind of the traditional safe way to proceed through a game of TFT. Lately, I don't know about you, lately I've been leveling earlier on some levels. That's another big hit taken by a Ramkev there, but I've been doing a lot of like 3-1 leveling, leveling before 4-1 to 7, just to, if I'm win streaking, to try to keep that going.
Yeah, for sure with the win streak.
I love it.
Yeah, I've always done the 3-1 level, especially if I had 100 health, or if I even got a 4-win streak going, definitely always take the 3-1. I'm seeing people go 7 on 3-2, see people go 7 on 3-5, which is the more common one. But you're definitely seeing people push levels a lot more aggressively. Bebe, a Korean player, famously will push to 5 before the stage 2 carousel even. So there's lots of options for different timings on rolling here.
Definitely is. So looking at these items, you've got half of a Guardian Angel, you've got half of a number of other things, I suppose, with that. He's got the option to build a Ginsu's now. There's a Kale in the shop. So what's the decision going to be for Ramkev? He's still pretty open, it feels like, at this point. There's a couple different directions you could go.
Yeah, with Thieves Glove, you want to be in a spot where you have multiple carries, and one that can use the Thieves Glove well, and one example that can use these items well. He already has a Tryndamere on the bench, but if you have Tryndamere and Olaf, you 2-star both of them. One of them will always be happy to take the Thieves Glove, so I would expect him to transition that angle.
All right, let's see what Ramblin is up to now. Ramblin is our 6 fortune player, like we talked about a little bit earlier. He's got that Nico too that's going to be nuking people from orbit with her ability.
Some 3 loss.
Fabled in there as well, yeah.
I don't know if this board is strong enough to pop this 8 fortune, to be honest. Or not 8 fortune,
maybe.
Sorry, the 6 fortune.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky. Yeah.
The Nico always, I feel like, when you need the Nico to do something useful, she'll just throw her Pop Blossom into some corner, hit 2 units, and then you try and get a refund. There's no refunds
pretty much.
for Nico. She's just there.
Now, Ramblin, I was looking at, let's see, I'm trying to recall. Now, Ramblin was one of the players that actually played Nico a little bit more than some of the others. He actually had 2 Nico Fabled games yesterday. So it is a composition that he likes to use.
This board looks so weak. There's no way he pop. Like, if he doesn't pop here, I think he's screwed. Kiting's board has been rolling all stage and has mixed damage as well between the cat and the Tryndamere.
Right.
So the Nico's dead. Yeah, this board, I think he's just gonna die on this huge fortune streak. He's just memeing a little too hard. You know, Mort Dog loves 6 fortune, and Mort's probably sitting here looking at this like, oh man, I don't know if I would go fortune here. You know.
I mean, hey, we talked about it earlier, right? We're Ramblin' #1 on points in the lobby right now. Does give up a few of those units here, but. You know, if anyone has the luxury to play a fortune game and get stuck in fortune jail for the entire time, it is Ramblin' right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been having a good day. This is the equivalent to heat check, right? You're just jacking up a 3 from half court and seeing what happens.
I mean, I think this is just a good little minor change. Swapping over to the mages with the Aurelian Soul, they're probably going to give you a higher chance of winning a round at this point than that Nico was. Yeah. So he might still stick with it for a couple rounds.
Yes, you gotta slam everything here. If he gets one more, he has a Nico's help on his bench at least, so that could help. But he does need the Asol here. There's a Samira 2. I would consider just making the Samira 2 with the Nico's help, because you have to win.
Yeah, I suppose you could make some items for it. He's gonna go ahead and do that. Yeah.
So there's the Hodge. You can slam probably Giant Slayer, which can help you cheese a fight. Probably,
no Slayer or Sharpshooter, so it's a little bit awkward.
I think you just slam.
Okay.
I mean,
see if he survives a Kennen 3. I don't know about this.
I mean, there's no way, right? But he has Giant Slayer. Yeah. It's like it's such good items on that Kennen. So, I mean, he's down to 1 fight, and he's got to keep slamming. You're just rolling every turn here.
Rip putting your Samira 2, your freshly minted Samira 2.
And that gives you another Samira. Alright, so you have the shooter then.
It hurts so bad.
I mean, at this point, I don't think he can drop to 3 fortune. That's the right play to drop to 3 fortune. But it is the a little sad. I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see Samira. This is definitely the smarter play, but I would have personally liked to see him commit to the 6 fortune and just ride or die with it. You know? Yeah, but mostly just die. He could have sold. He could have had Sejin over the Darius here if he was going to do this.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You sell the Tom Kent and then get the Sej 2 in there. I suppose it was kind of a last minute thing. Didn't have a lot of time to do it, but the game.
I think he actually wins this.
I think he does.
Pop. Oh, it's time. If he comes back. There's Sej 2. It's a 6 loss fortune. The loss table on 6, I think, is like 7 is the one where I always want to be at, but hey, he's alive. And more importantly, all
right, a couple more Nikos.
More importantly, he can sell all these fortune units, that's the big win. And he's got a Samira 2, so there's definitely comeback potential on this board.
Yeah, any 5 cost he finds, he can make a 2-star of, and Yone is a great one to do that with.
just slam the Yone in.
Yep. All right. So you've got the dynamic duo.
Yeah, he has to Nico.
right
He has
now.
to Nico. He has to Nico. Doesn't have time.
Oh no.
Oh man, he just went a
humanity.
little too slow.
Yep. That's it's a little bit. That's a little bit of feels bad, man. We'll
Now he's
see
into a Zillion 2. It's kind of a.
Oh, that Samira does a lot of damage now that she's got some
Samira went
support. Yep, that's right. But there's another Samira. Samira v
Oh,
Samira.
no. So he
Oh,
lost because he didn't.
slightly.
Nico's in time. You have to do that faster.
Yeah, the
mechanics.
tighter comp for Bertosaurus gets the win there. Bertosaurus on the way to maybe get a better result this time around. We're gonna jump over with Chess Mage, who is on the Warlord hype train. It looks like. I think we were looking at his board. No, he does not. He was looking at somebody else's board there. I think that was Kiting His Heart actually that managed to put together some of the 3 stars for the Warlords, which is what you need to do if you're gonna be playing that.
Kiting was slow rolling through stage 7. Like he was definitely in a decent spot as long as he
Nice.
hits. And looks like fortunately he hits
Hype
everything.
3.
He has a duelist. He has duelist Kale in the back there. He's got a
Wow.
lot going on. You know.
No kidding.
As long as you have Cat 3, you have Cat 3. You have Jarvan 3. You can win the game.
Yeah, it's looking like dire straits, but he did it. Meanwhile,
Oh, wow.
chosen Kale for Chess Mage. So that is a
Chess
pretty
Mage is
strong
at
looking board.
91 health with
Yeah.
a ton of gold, and he also has the Kale already. So that means he really probably didn't roll like at all. And he must have just like basically it's one of those you press D once and you hit the Kale chosen, which is exactly the unit you need. And this is one of those games that like Mort wants you to win. And
Why is that?
You have so much health and you pretty much don't have to roll. This is a free 9 where you have infinite health. You'll be able to chase anything you want. You keep the Kale and you can start holding Kales, wait for people to die, and start pushing for Kale 3. You can push for Zaya 3. You can push for pretty much anything with this kind of health. And I mean, with 91 health, you can do anything. You're guaranteed a top 2 just from health.
Looking pretty good. Yep. All right, so that's going to be a win at least against the Ghosts anyway for Chess Mage. But you are correct.
Yeah.
It is going to be a tough board to beat.
I mean, it's impossible to not top 2 just from health and with the strength of this board. So you're worried about, at this point, you're scouting around to see who's likely to be second. And you want to start itemizing and prioritizing units who can help deal with that second. And looking through the board, both of those boards, he just saw the Slayer board and the Cat board. High potential, get to the second. So you definitely want to start thinking, okay, what do I need to build? What units should I start holding to counter a couple of these boards?
Right. Repositioning that cloak a little bit. The last moment. We're going to see more and more cloaks as people start playing keepers more and more. That
So
cloak.
good.
Barely misses the Kennen though. Kennen's the one you want to hit. So we'll see.
But
if
it's
he can
fine.
get
If it
through
comes
this.
down to a 1v1, he's not worried about it because if it comes down to 1v1, he'll never miss the cloak. And so he'll never lose this matchup in a heads up. Might lose it right now, but this is not one you should worry about with the Shroud.
Right.
Just having Shroud going into the end game spot where you know you're guaranteed to get a 1v1 and you already have a Shroud this is a very good position for him. Complete disappointment from him if he doesn't win it. And I'm not saying it's impossible for him to not win at this point, but just from a personal perspective, if I were in this position and I did not get first, I would be extremely disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a good matchup into the keepers just in general because Kale does a pretty good job of just cutting through everything. And if you position well, not only, like you said, can you get the Shroud on the Kennen, but you can also get the Kale away from the Kennen, which is almost the bigger thing since she's the one who's going to be doing all that damage into that juicy keeper clump, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, if I were Chess Mage, I'd feel pretty good about the results here. Another Chalice. All right, well, the more the merrier, right? Triple Chalice
Triple
Kindred. Why not?
Chalice. Just
Yep.
Kale so much extra power. I mean, you're in this position where you have 3 Divine in. You can put Lee in for the 4th, or you cut Lee and Aurelia and play the 2 Vanguards instead. So you have a lot of different options, and I think that'll just depend on, hey, what units are going to be on enemy boards. Do I need the Vanguards in to soak up some physical damage, or do I want the Divine in to kind of get reduction against more true damage and backline access? So it's just going to depend on what units he feels like, or what comps he's going to feel like he's going to run into at the end here.
Wow, so many 1-star units up in front. That is a paper thin front line, which is certainly a point of concern. Going up against Kiting is hard right now. That Katarina does a lot of damage.
Cat popped
That
off.
said,
Kiting
though,
has
the
50
Kale-
gold as well.
Yep,
I mean,
and
Kiting's
the
in a
dual
great
scale.
spot.
Right.
I mean, at this point, if you're him, you have to start thinking, okay, what do I need to do to beat the Kale comp, and what he needs to start doing is once he gets to the end is you need to just corner the Kale, and basically you need to dodge the.
Oh, let's do some MS Paint. What are you gonna draw? It's a circle.
Okay, this is looking good.
What's next? It's a red circle. All right, I'm intrigued. I'm an art major. What's it gonna be? Red circle.
A fantastic circle.
I'm so disappointed. Kiting is hard. Let's take a look at the Warlord board. Another Zir. All right.
Yeah.
More.
You're just teching in. Yeah, you just tech in legendaries at this point. This is the way to upgrade. You stay at the 6 Warlord. You tech in legendaries. But getting the Azir is nice.
I just want to know what the MS Paint drawing was. That's my primary concern for the rest of this game now.
Perhaps if we get a winner's interview at the end, we'll have to remember this.
Azir 2, that's pretty good. Assassin Spat, that's not as good. Okay, what's going to be? Hold on. All right, keep going. All right, who cares about the fight? Don't worry about it. He's going to win.
Is this like a pentagram? Is this some devil?
Oh, he's summoning
something?
He's
summoning Mortdog. Is this the sign to summon Mortdog luck?
Maybe.
Oh, man.
Summon harder. It looks like he's just barely got enough Ramkev down.
You know, one of the production people back there is a little nervous about what he's drawing. It's like,
I'd be super nervous. This is fun.
Hope he doesn't do anything against TOS here. You know, even I'm sitting here, it's like, oh man, I technically represent Riot. Let's hope he doesn't do anything bad.
Like this is a producer's worst nightmare, but this is like a commentator's dream. We're just like, what's it gonna be? Let's find out. Chess Mage, our producer is screaming. She sounds very worried right now. Don't worry, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, and Kiting certainly has made a few, has been vocal
about
dodge
some the cloak.
Things.
Dodge the cloak. Okay. He did not dodge the cloak. All right, so
Kennen
is going to be hit, but it is a Kennen 3. Kennen 3 with amazing items aside from the Warmogs.
I mean, this cloak is also extremely good into. I mean, that's like the worst nightmare for a keeper play. You see a Sejuani with a cloak in front of you, it just freezes your whole team. They don't do anything, but apparently it doesn't matter, or does it? I can't actually tell who's winning here.
Well, Kennen 3 is very good, and Xayah with the GA is also pretty decent. Wow. Yep. So not the GA rather. So this is remember when I was talking about earlier in the show about when keepers can win lobbies? This is one of those times when you have that Kennen 3 with the very, very good items. GA Morello's usually part of that. Ionic Spark is, of course, the third best in slot. Warmogs works because whatever gets you to ult twice is kind of a good thing. And then as long as your other carries, which in this case is Xayah, is living long enough, you can beat pretty much any board. So, and he got a direct hit from the cloak there too. So
yeah, I mean, it was perfect positioning, and he still won the fight with the 2-star Yone though. Maybe Yone cuts across the whole team. I mean, this board feels so capped at this point. Looks like you're just missing Zillion 2 and Azir 2, and you probably start holding 4-star or 3-star opportunities on stuff like Kale. Okay, that's another hit. I mean, at this point, you got to start thinking of like, what are some other units I can potentially get in to maybe disrupt that clump there. And I definitely think Lee Sin's a good one. If you can get the Lee Sin in front of the cannon, sometimes you kick the cannon away from the rest of your units.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Chess Mage is getting enough 2-star 5 cost regardless that this board is getting pretty unbeatable. That says we have a very strong final 3 boards here in this particular lobby. Kiting finally taking an L.
All three of these players would definitely be in spots where they feel like, hey, I can definitely win this lobby. Or if you showed them this board independent of the lobby, they would be like, yeah, this is a comp that could top 1. So you saw the Kale get cornered there. Once the Kale gets cornered against the Katarina, it's very difficult for the Katarina to actually win, especially if the Zillion ults it. Because what happens with the GA is Cat will pop the GA, move away, Cat moves away, Cat dies. It's very difficult for Katarina comps to beat any Kale carries with GA, and it's doubly difficult when you have a 2-star Zillion that can amplify that and give even more GAs.
Right. All right, who's it going to be? He's got the chance. Okay, so he does get the Shroud onto the player again. It is the Ghost.
So, unfortunately, the Aatrox is going to pull the Kale in here, and as long as
it lives long enough.
But it looks like it's not going. Okay, there we go. So it pulls it in. Yep. And once it pulls it in, I think this is a very difficult fight to win because the Kale is basically all of your damage, and it gets pulled into range of both the Xayah and the Kennen. You just eat a ton of AoE. Even if his front line was positioned well, because the Kale gets pulled, he loses the fight. So it's one of these situations where he should have known that because he just fought Kiting. He should have known he would face Otterbear on this turn, and you need to center the Kale a bit more. So you flop it. with the Azir, and the Azir should be the one in the corner. So I think it's just mispositioning on his front there without recognizing what he needs to do to beat the comp when he knew exactly what he knew he would be fighting it. So I think it's just a misplay.
It's a little bit tricky when you have two strong boards on the other side to tell who you're going to fight, right? Because you've got like a 2 out of 3 chance to fight one person and a 1 out of 3 chance to fight the other person generally. So
I think it's been long enough where he knows that it alternates, and I think I'd have to double check, and I could be wrong here. Maybe it was still a 50-50, but I do think he should have known, based on how the lobby was going, who he's supposed to fight there.
Oh wow, Dragon's Claw for the keeper player, so that'll be something that'll be useful probably on like the Aatrox or something, because Kennen had full items. And Lee Sin 2, that's pretty big.
Azir 2 is big. 2? Yep. So once the Ornn pops next turn, I think you replace the Ornn with the Lee Sin 2, and because it's going to be the Kennen player most likely, and you're trying to position the Lee Sin right in front of the Kennen, and that should be what lets you ultimately win the fight. So the Ornn will get you one more item. You're guaranteed to not die this turn with 34 HP, and so he should be facing, I believe it should be the Warlords. He still has 50. No, he's against Otterbear. Okay, so maybe
because it's always that it's always that chance of hitting either the ghost or the other actual player. So it's tough. It's not quite that 50-50. That said, the Kale's in a pretty good position to chop through all this. We'll see if it's enough. I mean, he's got so many 2-star legendaries right now.
Kale just doesn't do.
I love this
when you're watching Kale endgame try to do damage, it just feels so bad. Watching Kale,
I don't know. I've seen some pretty scary Kale end games. I think that Zillion 2 on the other side. Look at all those Zillion ults. That is the true MVP of that board right now.
Yeah, so Lee Sin has to go in, and Lee Sin has to kick off Kennen. That's the only way he wins this fight.
All right, Anima Visage, pretty cool for a tank as far as that Ornn item goes.
So he sold the Sedge instead of the Ornn, which I'm not sure I agree with. I think the Sedge is slightly more useful into that comp, but maybe it'll do some extra work here. So he needs to actually scout and move the Lee Sin in front of the Kennen. If he doesn't do that, okay, so he didn't do that, and that's going to make it a little difficult.
He's got it in front of the Aatrox. Yeah, that can be a situation where it works. Oh, he hit the Ornn. Interesting. Okay.
So it ended up hitting something really awkward. So Lee Sin's still alive at least. But in a situation where he was getting crushed before, without kicking off...
I'm just watching the Zillion. The Zillion in the back, making sure nobody ever dies.
Yeah, I mean,
Kale's
the Zillion's
a lot of time,
as well. I mean, Kale's still alive. Did he actually win this?
I think it's certainly possible. Yeah, Lee Sin's still there as well. That Xayah gets one more shot. So we're so close, Zillion.
Wait, it's gonna ult though. Oh, that was like the Uzi. That was like the Uzi ult there.